All right. Hey everyone, I'm Zainab, a C5 History Fellow. Thanks for tuning in to the next installment of HTF Live-Ish. Today I'm really excited to be interviewing one of my mentors, Alicia. Alicia was a C3 History Fellow. She did her placement year at LPS Hayward, that's in California for context, and next year will be teaching at Brooklyn Ascend High School. She also helps facilitate my summer methods class in history, and I'm learning a lot from her and all my peers, and I'm really excited to get to talk to you today. How are you doing?
Good. Happy to be here. What a glowing intro. I love that.
Thank you.
We would have you like playing whenever I enter a classroom. Like, I'm legit. This is what Zainab has to say.
Yeah. I practice. I script everything out just like I do for my lessons. Yeah. Thanks again for being with us. I'm going to dive straight into some of my questions for you. And the first one is, why did you choose to join HTF?
Good question. I think it kind of boils down to like a handful of reasons. One, I was looking for a program that wanted candidates who were dedicated to the field of education in some way, shape, or form in the long term. I also wanted a program that valued and positioned teachers as change agents, so that really understood and believed in the fact that as an educator, you could be like a positive tool for change in a young person's life. I think I also wanted a program that was committed to urban education and committed to working with like students and communities similar to my own. And I think finally, and I think most crucially, is that I wanted a program that was really going to support me through the first year. Because the first year, as we all know, comes with a lot of challenges. And so I wanted a program that was going to give me the training, but also the continual tools and access to resources I would need in that first year, so that I wasn't just like surviving, but I was like being sustained, so I could do this work for the long term.
That makes so much sense, and are definitely things that I've heard other fellows echo. I appreciated the list, the very creative.
My students know Miss Hamilton works in bullet points.
Right.
Bullet points.
Teacher strategy.
Yeah.
Noted. Maybe building on that, once you joined the program or since then, I'm curious, what 5 words would you use to describe your experience, or HTF more generally?
Yeah. I think the 5 words I'd probably go for to describe HTF in the program are committed, supportive, I think community-oriented, mission-driven, and I think responsive. So those are the 5 that sum up the various ups and downs that I've had throughout my year, and just all the ways that I've seen HTF as a program respond to challenges and provide support, and like all of that, I think really is encompassed by those 5 words.
Thank you for that. Actually, on that point about challenges, the next question I had for you was, what has been a challenging moment in your now first several years of teaching, or your first like teaching chunk, I guess. Yeah, chunk. And how has HTF or the faculty or just the tools or the community kind of supported you through that?
I think for me, I had the opportunity, but also the challenge in my first year, my placement year, of having to do a lot of curriculum building. So at my placement school, for the content I was teaching, there were some resources, but I really had to build out a lot. And that, even though it was really cool and like gets your teacher creative juices flowing in your first year, is also pretty daunting. I was like, oh no, what am I going to teach day one? Like I need a day one lesson.
Yeah.
But throughout that, like HTF and the systems that it puts in place in your first year provide me with the support, so that I didn't feel overwhelmed. So for example, as a part of HTF's program, you have a school-based mentor, and my school-based mentor like knew I was coming in with a skeletal curriculum, and helped me to build that out and gave me consistent feedback to build that out. My HTF faculty head, Dr. Sodosha and Eric, met with me. Like, I remember he came and flew out to California to visit the rest of the fellows, but also spent some time during his visit to my school to help me work through a unit plan and go from like what is my compelling question to what is going to be my summative assessment. The mentors that we have built in through HTF that are back at Harvard, like just really supported me in thinking through each of my units, each of my lessons, and it made what could have been a really, I think, daunting situation of having to do curriculum building far more manageable. Don't get me wrong, it was so challenging, but it made it far more manageable.
Right. That mentorship is something that I was actually really curious about how like the summer mentorship and feedback we get translates into the school year. So it's helpful for me to hear too that it's still super intense and present.
They don't drop you, they continue, which is, it's not like all the support in the summer, all the support in Harvard, and then in your placement school, like cricket, it continues with it. And they are very proactive and intentional about that. And that's something I really appreciate. And I think you're going to appreciate as well when we get down to it.
I'm sure. That's great to hear. And we love Eric, Dr. Sophia. Yes. Next question I have is pivoting a little bit, but we're trying to understand how fellows feel in the HTF community, and we want to share that with potential applicants. So could you speak a bit about your community experience?
Yeah, the HTF community, honestly, I think is the greatest like hidden perk of the program. HTF, the cohorts are small, right? And so you really get to know your fellows and you really build strong relationships with them all the way from your senior spring when you start at Harvard with your courses to your second summer, your final summer that you spend with them. It's just invaluable to have a group of other young professionals in the field of education, in teaching, that I could reach out to with, questions, problems, moments of praise, moments of like challenge. And I think beyond that, not just the fellows, like the staff and faculty at HTF, like I can say this genuinely, they care not only about like how you're doing professionally, but how you're doing personally as well. And I don't think you're going to find that in a lot of other programs. And it's not always perfect, but knowing that they care, because they are really like, they're true teachers. They care about their students, really makes some of the tough times far more manageable. It makes some of the joyous times like even more joyous, So the community is honestly like the hidden secret. Like it's one of the best parts. Like I still, 1 year out now, almost going on to 2 years out, we still are all on a group chat, and I found my current position through an HTF member of my cohort who introduced me to the school, introduced me to the principal and all of that. And so like the connections, are just, you can't buy them. It's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Family with also like very useful career overlap, and we can discuss things.
Best kind of family, the one that supports you but can also help you out.
Yeah. Nice. Let me do a quick time check. Okay, I think we've got some time for maybe 2 more questions. I'm wondering, this is a pretty vague question, so I hope you take it however you want, but what did you not really know before HTF, and what has HTF taught you that's prepared you well, especially in regards to teaching, maybe?
Yeah, I didn't know a lot. I had done like summer programs and even like programs during undergrad that got me to work with kids, but I think there's nothing like your first year in the classroom when like you're just doing it, and that's when you really learn. But I think practically HTF taught me so many things, like on the small scale, like how to teach history in particular through an inquiry-based approach instead of like the usual like memorization of facts that I had been used to. It taught me, especially how to be reflective on my own practice and how to pause and think about, okay, how did this lesson go, or how did this assessment go? What can be improved? And I think it also like opened my eyes to some of, I'm going to call it the science behind teaching. So the way in which research informs your instruction, the ways in which psychology and development informs instruction, informs student learning. Like those are things I would not have picked up in any other way than through kind of the really thought through like courses and programs and experiences that HTF kind of wraps up in its program.
I'm currently in a Hugsy or Harvard Graduate School of Education class called How People Learn, and it's starting to walk us through all the fundamentals of like developmental psychology, and I think it's pretty mind-boggling to understand how much education has to factor those things in. It does factor those things in that I wasn't aware of before, so pretty cool.
We're scientists, you know?
Yeah.
On top of everything else, we're literally like in the work every day of trial and error, hypothesis and testing, and like, oh, that did not work. Okay, let's try this version. Oh, this works. Okay, let's replicate that. So absolutely, understanding that, like the scientific aspect and like the mechanical aspect, like it is so important as well.
Right, right. Constant data collection for sure, analysis. And my last question for you is to anybody watching this, especially somebody who might be kind of on the fence about teaching or about applying, what would you tell them? Or
get off the fence. We need great teachers. We need committed teachers more so now than ever before. But I think just realistically, if you're looking for a profession, you're looking for a career that is intellectually engaging and challenging, like teaching is it. Every single day you are problem solving, you are figuring out new things. And like just in my personal experience, like no day is exactly the same. And I love that challenge personally. And though it might sound cliche or cheesy, like the fact is getting to work with students, getting to build bonds with students, getting to be someone in a young person's life that can empower them to create the change that they want to see is incredibly rewarding and fulfilling, and makes all of the challenges that come with teaching so worth it. And so like, get off the fence, join the teaching club. We need you, but you also need us. You're gonna love it.
Get off the fence, the new motto of HTF provided by Alicia. That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
On a t-shirt, okay?
Really, right. But actually that's amazing. Thank you for that wording. Yeah, that's the way. Get off the fence, everybody who's listening. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate getting to hear like just your reflections and your insights, and I'm grateful to be working with you and excited to maybe we might be teaching the same thing next year potentially, so hopefully get to collaborate.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Zay. It was a pleasure.